If you're somebody who doesn't know how to code but wants to create AI agents and AI automations, then you've probably heard of n8n. n8n is the #1 low-code platform on the market right now, which means it's a place you can go and actually build these complex AI systems without knowing how to actually code. But even if you don't necessarily need to know how to code, n8n can be extremely intimidating for someone who's new to the space. And if you go on YouTube and try to find guides, they're either 5, 6, 7-hour masterclass courses or the videos about specific, complicated templates that don't necessarily teach you how to build it from scratch. So in today's video, what I'm going to try to do for you is condense a 5-hour masterclass into essentially a 20-minute sprint that can get you from zero to having some idea of what the heck is going on, so you actually feel confident about jumping onto this platform and starting to build AI agents. I'm going to assume you've never used n8n before and you have no technical knowledge, so hopefully this video can help you out no matter where you are on your journey. So n8n, what exactly is it? Well, it's a platform that lets us build AI agents like you see on the screen right here. But instead of coding it, getting on a scary terminal and writing all these lines, I'm instead going to essentially be able to create these little building blocks like you see right here and just connect them. I'll be able to connect chat models. I'll be able to connect tools. I'll be able to have this agent give its answers in something like Slack, and I can just talk to it like I would ChatGPT. But let's talk a little bit more about the platform itself. What does it cost? How do I use it? Is it free? Well, if you go to n8n.io, you're going to see a page just like this. Now, in regards to pricing, there's a whole lot of different pricing options. When you hear about n8n, people are going to talk about hosting. They're going to say, hey, you should self-host or you should local host. What does all of that mean? Or they say, are you on the cloud? What the heck are they talking about? Well, like I said, there's really 3 options for hosting. And when I mean hosting, I'm talking about where n8n lives. Okay. The first option is what is referred to as the cloud. This means I just go to n8n.io, just like we are now. I sign up on their website, and then I go to the website when I want to use n8n. The service itself is hosted on n8n's cloud, right? All the information is on their servers, and that's what I'm paying for. I also have the option to self-host. That means that instead of paying to use n8n on n8n servers, I instead operate n8n on my own servers. Well, not necessarily my own servers, but somebody else's, right? Some other third party like Hostinger or Render. Now, why would you do this? Well, because it's cheaper, right? So that's option 2, which is self-hosting. The third option is to local host. This is a bit more advanced. This is you actually hosting it on your very own computer, which essentially makes it free. Now, there's different constraints hosting it on your computer, right, power-wise versus on someone's cloud, but just understand that's what people are talking about. If you are brand new and all that was super confusing, just use the n8n cloud. I would suggest just starting monthly off the bat, just do the starter plan. They have a free trial, but this makes it as easy as possible. You just start the trial, you log in, and you're all set. Now, once I sign up for n8n and I log in, I'll get to a page that looks like this. This is where all of my workflows live. And if I want to create a new workflow, I'm just coming to the top here and I'm going to go to create workflow. And this is our canvas. This is where we build everything. And so let's just jump right into it and just start creating an AI agent. So I'm just going to hit tab, and that's going to bring this up here on the right. And this shows me all the different options, all the different building blocks for my agent. So I'm going to search for AI agent, and you're going to see over here, this pops up. It brings up this screen automatically, which is like the settings for that particular node. But this is what we got, right? Each of these things is known as like a module or a node. So this is our AI agent node, and this is our input. This is how we would talk with our agent, in this case with a chat message. Now, for every single node, you're going to have settings, okay? There's going to be certain ways for you to configure it. With our AI agent, there's a number of things that we can configure. Namely, what are we going to attach to it, right? Imagine I'm trying to essentially recreate ChatGPT. Well, I would need some sort of chat model, right? So if I click on chat model, you'll see over here on the right, and I'm just going to go to the left for the rest of this video. You'll see here on the right all the different language models that I can select. Just think of, again, when you're on ChatGPT, you have the option doing GPT-5, GPT 4.1, 4.0. Similar thing here, but I can choose anything, right? OpenAI, Grok, Gemini, AWS, whatever. They're all at my disposal, and I just got to click them. In this case, we click OpenAI, and you'll see I have models that I can choose from. All the different models are at my disposal, and I can choose whatever one I want. Now, what I will need to do, though, is I need to connect my account, right? I need to have an OpenAI account, so it only charges me. It doesn't charge n8n. How do I do that? Well, I'm just going to go to create new credential, And then you'll see it's asking for certain things like API key, organization ID. What do I do here? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to hit Open Docs right here. Now, for every single module, you're going to see this, right? If I click out, close, you see Docs right here. Same thing when I create a new credential, Open Docs. Documentation are essentially the instructions for how to use that module. And you should always take a look at these if you're ever confused and don't know what to do, because n8n documentation is actually really, really strong. So right here, it's telling me exactly how to create my credentials, right? It says I need an API key, I need an OpenAI account, and then it gives me the 4 steps of how to do it. So I'll actually walk you through this so you can see it in real time. So first things first, we need to create an OpenAI account if we don't already have one. So I'm just going to click on this, and then you're going to log into your account, and you're going to see a page like this. What you're going to do now is you're going to go to the settings. You're going to come over here to the left. You're going to go to billing, and you need to add some sort of credit balance because you're going to be paying for it every single time you use that OpenAI account. It's fractions of a penny. I'll talk about it a little bit more, but you just need to add some money to your account. $5 is fine. Once you add some funding, you're going to go down to API keys, and then you're going to go to create new secret key. And you can now call this thing anything. I'll call mine n8n test. And then once I create the secret key, it gives me this API key. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to hit done. I go back inside of n8n. I insert my API key, rename it to whatever you want. I hit save, and boom, I now connected my OpenAI account to this, right? Now I can open chat right here, and you see this chat window down on the left. I can just say hello. You can see the model working, and it responded to me. Hello, how can I assist you today? Just like ChatGPT would. Now, you might have just followed along what I did exactly and still had no idea what the heck actually happened. So let's talk very quickly what we actually just did. Like, okay, so I connected my account. How are these accounts actually connecting? What's an API? So what is an API? Application Programming Interface. All that means is an API is how 2 programs talk to one another. So right now, right, program 1 is our AI agent inside of n8n, okay? Program 2 is OpenAI, where the chat model lives. If I want this AI agent that we're working on right now to talk with OpenAI over here, how do we do that? Well, it uses an API request, right? Think of this line as that API request in action. So what's happening is I gave it my message, hey, how's it going? It went to this AI agent. It then sends that message. Think of it sending a letter to OpenAI servers. It gets the request, it says, hi, how are you doing? It generates a response and it sends it back. That back and forth is over an API. Now, when I send that letter to OpenAI, I need to include an API key. That API key is essentially me validating who I am and do I have enough money in my account, right? Because they're not going to do all that work on their end if we haven't paid. So that's where the API comes in. It's you validating your API request saying, hey, I am who I am. Here's proof. Do the work, right? That was API in a nutshell. And that idea of APIs and connecting accounts is essentially how all of this works, okay? So next step is memory and tools. You saw us talk to OpenAI, but if I say, hey, my name is Chase, right? And then I say, and then I follow up and I say, what's my name? You'll see I don't have access to your personal information, so I don't know your name. Why doesn't it know my name? Well, because it doesn't have memory, right? So we're just gonna hit plus here. And over here on the right, what do you see? We see all our memory options. Now for beginners, we're just gonna do simple memory, but like all the things you'll see today, the waters are pretty deep and you can go all the way to databases, but we're not gonna worry about that. We're just gonna do simple memory. And it says context window length, and we're just gonna keep it at 5. And that means it's gonna remember our last 5 messages, okay? Next up is tools. Now, what makes an AI agent an AI agent? An AI agent is essentially what we have here. So think of our, little mini ChatGPT, but it can do things on our behalf, right? It can send emails, it can check our Google Drive, it can check the calendar, it can go on the website. It can actually do a number of things, and the things it can do are the tools. But we need to attach the tools that we want the AI agent to work with, right? And they can be virtually anything. So if I hit plus here, what do I see on the right? I see all the tools available to me. It's a lot of tools, a lot of built-in ones. And so you can actually do tools that aren't on this list, but that's a lesson for another day. But let's say I wanted to do Gmail, okay? I just click Gmail, and then you see here the module comes up with all the potential settings. So in this case, I need to connect my account. Again, I would do create new credentials, and I would follow the documentation of how to do it, right? I'm going to assume you can read those directions. That way, this whole video is in us connecting accounts. But from there, it's like, okay, well, what do you want it to do? Well, what resource do I want? Well, I want a message. And what do I want it to do? I want it to send a message. Who do I want the message to go to? What do I want the subject to be? And what do I want the message itself to be? Now, we could quote unquote hard code these things. So I could have it go to my email. If I put chaseai@chasehannigan.com, every time it uses this tool, it will only send it to that person, right? And the subject could be hi, and the message could be what's up. If that's how you set it up, then it's only going to be able to do those things every single time. But who the heck wants that? I want this thing to be dynamic. I want to be able to talk to it in a conversation and have it quote unquote intelligently figure out, oh, this is who it should go to. This is what the subject should be. And this is what the message should be, right? If I say, hey, send an email to Chase, tell him what's up, ask him what he's doing tomorrow. I want the AI to be able to take what I just said to it and be like, okay, well, the subject should be, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? And the message should be, how's it going, Chase? Wanted to see what you're doing tomorrow, right? I want it to infer things like a real human being. Well, to do that, it's super easy. You see these stars right here? Boom, boom. That is now defined automatically by the model. And this is one of the most important and powerful, features of using these AI systems, right? It will now intelligently figure out what the subject should be and what the message should be, right? I don't have to explicitly say that, right? So now I've added that tool, and let's actually see it in action. So let's open up our chat window, and we're going to say send an email to chaseai@chasehannigan.com. Now, as an aside, if I were to add another tool that included a database of, say, all the people I knew, their names and their emails, I could just always tell it, hey, when I tell you to go send an email to Chase, go to that database and look up his email so I don't have to tell you that. But we haven't set that up. So I'm saying send an email to Chase asking what's up and see if he can hang out tomorrow or something, right? So I send that message, and we will see the AI system in action. You see how it's hitting the chat model and it hit the Gmail message, and it says it did it. All right, it says it sent the message, but let's see if it actually worked. So here's the email it actually sent. Hey, Chase, just wanted to check in and see what's up. Are you free to hang out tomorrow sometime soon? Let me know. Cheers. Right? It did what we said. It inferred what the message should actually sound like, and it gave us a title. Now, obviously, we could clean that up a bit, but that's kind of the AI system in action. And that sort of logic can be extrapolated to any tool we give it, right? We could continue adding more and more tools, right? I can add a perplexity tool. That's like AI Google. Again, what would I want it to search for? I would let the AI describe it, right? I could add things like my Google Drive, right? Same thing. What drive should it find? I want the AI to figure it out. What should the input data field name? Let the AI figure it out, right? We can continue doing this on and on and on. And what you should start to see is like, I could do things like GitHub too, like all these things. And again, every time I click these little stars, that's the AI is going to be able to figure things out. So what did I just show you? I showed you how to essentially set up an AI agent. I showed you how you set up the chat model, and then how the tools work, how we connect them, and then how AI plays into their actual execution, and that ability for AI to infer what we want and intelligently fill out certain forms. That's the power of these AI systems. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about when it comes to AI agents specifically is the system message, which is a very important thing you need to understand. Now, if I go down here to options and I go to system message, you'll see it just says you are a helpful assistant. And I'll actually make this a little bigger. First of all, what is a system message? Well, a system message is the internal set of instructions that dictates the logic and essentially like the personality of your AI agent. Right now, it's, MO, it's like what it does is it just says like, hey, I'm a helpful assistant. It takes in your prompt, but it's operating under these instructions. Every AI system has a system prompt. You don't see it. It's in the background. ChatGPT has it, Claude has it. They all have it. But this is where you would dictate how exactly you want this AI agent to sound, to work. And so if I had a very complicated AI agent with a number of different tools, well, this would be a very, very long system prompt. As an example, here's an AI automation that has a very complicated system prompt. We have a number of AI systems in here, but let's look at one, for example, right here. What am I looking at? This is an AI system that creates content ideas for me. And what I'm about to show you is that system prompt. And the system prompt is everything here. And you see it's very, very detailed and very, very complicated because I wanted to do a specific thing. I wanted to create content outlines for me. So I'm very detailed about title requirements, hook requirements, storyline requirements, how I want it to sound, right? What I want the input to look like. All that to say is you can get as specific as you want with these system prompts and have it do anything, right? We just saw it doing emails. Well, I could give this examples of my own email writing, and show it and say, hey, I want you to write emails like me. Here's examples of 5 of my emails. Here's how I want you to sign them off. I don't want them to be any longer with this. I want it to always start with this line. Hey, you have all these tools. You have these 30 tools attached to you. Here's how I want you to use them. Here's when you shouldn't use them, right? All of that goes here in the system message, which is to say a lot of the power and a lot of the efficacy of the AI systems you built will be a function of how strong your system messages are. Now, luckily for you, you know who's really good at system messages? AI. So I will oftentimes take screenshots and bring it to something like ChatGPT or Claude and say, hey, help me with the system message for this system I'm trying to create. Like, this is the output I want. Now, in the last 10 minutes, we actually hit on a ton. System messages, AI agents, APIs, how to connect accounts, how to create AI agents, and how that all fits together. Let's spend the last part of this video talking about how you build your unique workflow, right? I can show you a bunch of examples, but chances are you have a particular problem that you want to solve. What should your general workflow be? What should the general framework be for creating these things? Well, step one, like anything, is going to be lean on AI. So my AI of choice when it comes to sort of ideating these different agents and automations is going to be Perplexity. I really like Perplexity because, like I said, it's essentially AI Google, and it will actually search live data for me on the web like YouTube and stuff. And so what I suggest is when you want to create a certain agent or system, go to something like Perplexity, describe it in depth, and see if anyone has already done something similar. So let's say I wanted to create an AI agent in n8n that was all about helping me manage my email inbox. I put that here inside of Perplexity. And what it's going to do is it's going to search all over the web, namely n8n itself in YouTube, to find that exact thing. And what I'm going to show you now is how you can use these templates that people have already used to build your own templates, right? We're actually going to kind of use their work as our foundation. So this first one that comes up, Gmail Email Manager. So if I click on this, what you will see is it brings us back to the n8n site. So pro tip, in n8n, if you come up here where it says product and you go to templates, there is actually a giant automation template library, almost 7,000 automations that are pre-built that you can download and start using right away. And so this can help you when it comes time to build whatever it is you want to build. So let's say this Gmail AI email manager, right? This guy actually wrote quite a bit about it. This looks like it could be a pretty solid automation. How do I actually use it for myself? Well, I'm just going to go to use for free. And you have a ton of options, right? You can import the template to the workspace, but something that's super easy is you can just copy template to clipboard, right? I come back inside of my n8n workflow and I literally just paste this in here. And look at that. That agent is now mine, right? We just created that in 2 seconds. Now you'll notice all these red dots because they're not connected. All I have to do now is click on these and then connect my account. If you already have a credential, it'll automatically do it. But you see that? That's as easy as it is to essentially find templates online and use them for yourself, which can be super useful. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is troubleshooting, because I think troubleshooting is knowing how to properly troubleshoot is actually one of the most important skills you can have and one most people don't have. Instead, they usually just throw their hands up in the air and then they just kind of give up. But if you know how to troubleshoot, frankly, you can build anything because the AI systems like Claude and Gemini are getting so good when it comes to helping you work through certain n8n workflows, which means you can build whatever you want. So what do we do when something goes wrong? How do we actually solve this problem? So let's go back to this big automation as example. I had an error here, okay? Now, over time, you'll get enough experience to be able to just go in here and figure out what exactly went wrong, but that's not always obvious, especially when you're just getting started. So what should you do? Well, it's kind of a multi-part process. So what you want to do is you first want to find an AI that you're comfortable with. And for me, that is Gemini and Claude. And so what I'm going to do at first is I'm going to give it full context of what's going wrong with my particular automation. And so to do that, What I want to do is I want to download the code for the automation. So what do I mean download the code? Remember, this is a no code platform, but all these visuals are just an interface essentially for code. There's a bunch of code going on down here. So I can just go ahead, come here to the top right on the three buttons. I can go to download, and you'll see here, it just downloaded the code for this agent. I'm then going to go to Gemini, go to Claude, go to ChatGPT, and I'm then going to put that code in there. So I literally just paste it in. The next thing you're going to do is give AI the big picture context. What do I mean by that? I've given it the code. Now I'm going to explain to the AI, hey, this is what I actually want to do with my system. Here's the data I start with. Here's my end goal. This shouldn't take more than a couple sentences. Also feel free to just use voice. Like, what's the point of this automation? What are you actually trying to do? Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we go back to where we're getting our error. I will then go into the module that has the problem, and I'm going to do two things. One, I'm going to copy all these errors messages, right? Come up right here, just click copy that. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a screenshot of this page itself. I then go back to the AI system. I'll then say, hey, error message. I paste that in there. I then paste in the screenshot. Okay. And then I tell it what I think is going wrong in that module. So to sum that up again, I first give it all the code, right? And the big picture context. Here's everything that's going on with my workflow. I then give it this specific error message. I give it a screenshot of the module in question, and then I give it a brief explanation of what that module was trying to do. What have I done by doing this? I have given AI what it lacks. AI lacks context. You, on the other hand, as a human being, you have unlimited context. You understand everything that's happening, like theoretically in this system, what you're actually trying to do. The AI is extremely smart. It's smarter than you when it comes to coding and all these like intricacies, but it doesn't understand context. It doesn't know what you're actually trying to do. So remember what your job is in this sort of AI human relationship when it comes to this stuff. That's to provide context. And by troubleshooting like this, giving it as much context as possible, you can solve virtually any problem, I guarantee you. Now, you're going to give it this. It's going to come back with a potential fix. You're going to try the fix. It may or may not work at first. If it doesn't work, you just repeat the last half, right? Put the error message back in, add another screenshot and a short explanation. You don't have to do the big context more than once. It understands that moving forward. But by doing that, that's how you're able to solve problems and troubleshoot. And frankly, if you know how to troubleshoot, you can kind of do anything inside of n8n because people don't know how to troubleshoot. They just know how to copy paste templates, and that's pretty much it. And that is actually where I'm going to leave you for this n8n essentials, because while we burned through that, and you might not think we actually touched on a lot, we touched on quite a bit. Just from this video, you know how to do the following. You understand what the hosting situation is, self-hosted versus local hosted versus cloud hosting. You understand how to set up an AI agent. You understand what a system prompt is. You understand how to connect a chat model, how to connect simple memory, and you understand the AI agent external tool API dynamic, right? You also know how to find whatever template you want out there on the internet and start using it for yourself. And lastly, and arguably most importantly, you now know how to troubleshoot whatever errors you run into, which means you can now start going out there and start experimenting and not feel like you're going to instantly hit a roadblock and have to give up, right? You now have enough tools to get started. Now, like I said, we ran through that. I alluded to in the intro that there's 5, 6, 7-hour masterclass courses out there. I myself have a 5-hour one, which goes deep into kind of everything we've talked about and more advanced topics like RAG and also how you would sell these sort of things. So links above, definitely check that out. And then lastly, don't forget about the Skool resources. They're down below. Tons of free resources in the Skool, including more guides and templates. And there are some paid communities like the Chase AI Plus. If you're someone who wants to start, actually making this a profession, like learning how to sell these things. So definitely check it out. Let me know what you thought about this one. And as always, I'll see you guys around.